The Padres offense erupted in Colorado while Garrett Crochet and Cole Reagans battled and Cade Horton got his first win. We're taking you all around MLB. This is Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into MLB Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we're covering every game, every night, and only the way that Locked On can do it. I'm your host, Lindsey Crosby, host of the Locked On Braves Postcast. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. That is Steve Lennox, host of the Locked On Red Sox Postcast. Follow him on the X at Lennox on Baseball. And Steve, a lot of stuff to get to, a lot of big stories around MLB. The Padres offense just blowing out the Rockies, setting records. Cade Horton getting the win. Dodgers and Diamondbacks continuing their crazy series. And I think I want to start with that Padres-Rockies game. Padres win 21-0. They put up 3 touchdowns on the Colorado Rockies with 5 home runs. And not only did they do that, they also got a complete game shutout from starter Steven Kolek. And that's not even the main story from the game. Just, I literally don't think you can have a better day of baseball than what San Diego had.
Yeah, reminded me as I saw that final score 21-0, Lindsey, that San Diego once had the Chargers in an NFL team. 55 runs allowed by the Rockies pitchers in their last 4 games, 10 or more in all 4, 21 runs, as you mentioned, 24 hits, 5 home runs, 10 extra base hits. And Kolek, second big league start, 104 pitches. I mean, talk about getting the run support and not nibbling on the corners, went after the hitters. And there's 4 complete game shutouts around baseball now. 2 of them belong to the Padres. Michael King has 1, Kolek has the other.
Yeah, and insult to injury, they also turned 2 double plays. So when the Rockies do finally get some hits, which they had 1 double and 4 singles, those guys get erased. Rockies finish 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. They leave 5 on base. All 5, obviously, to get on. But Bradley Blaylock for them, 3 2/3 innings, 13 hits, 12 runs, 2 walks to 1 strikeout. He takes 87 pitches to record 8 outs. I saw some messages during the game on social media like, hey, Bradley Blaylock, go sell some insurance. And I didn't know what they were talking about until I turned the game on. That is a rough day at the yard for the Rockies.
Yeah, that ERA is going to be up there for quite a while. He's going to need, 10 to 15 straight scoreless outings. I don't know what to say about the Rockies at this point in time. And we're going to talk about it all season because this isn't the beginning of it. It started since, the start of the season. I mean, and as bad as the White Sox were last year, you can look at this team and say 125 to 130 losses. It's certainly possible to be looking at those numbers come September.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to watch and see what happens with the attendance because Colorado's always been a really good place to go watch baseball, even if the baseball is not good. All right, some baseball that was good tonight. Yankees at the Athletics. A's avoid their 4th straight loss, even up the series with an 11-7 win. They just absolutely took it to New York. Here's our buddy Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees talking about what happened to New York in this one.
In what's a good season for some, Aaron Judge notches his 13th and 14th home runs of the season, but it's not enough for the Yankees as they drop Game 2 of the series to Sacramento or Oakland or just the Athletics, 11-7. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees. We thought this was going to be the pitching duel of the century, some would say, right? Carlos Rodon winds up giving up 4 runs. JP Sears wasn't giving up a run. And it's just not enough for the Yankees to be able to win this game. And the first game of the year that the Yankees bullpen finally didn't really impress fully. It's just a struggling game for them, and they're going to have to try and take Game 3 of this series against the A's in the minor league stadium because you got to win these series. These are the ones you look back on later on in the year, like we always say, that you're going to need to win. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees. You can catch us the rest of the week as we break down all of the Yankees series and the rest of their West Coast trip, wherever you find all your podcasts.
Steve, is using 4 relievers to go through 2 innings and those guys giving up 7 runs, is that good or is that bad?
That would be on the bad side.
Okay. That's what Brian was talking about in that one. Mason Miller, though, got his 11th save.
Yeah.
It feels almost as automatic as you can get. He gave up a run the other day, but it's just homers here. Shea Langoliers, 3-run homer in the 7th. He had another 2-run double in the 8th. I know all of that because I have him in fantasy, so that was nice. Brett Rooker took Rodon deep. I feel like in that ballpark, you never know what's going to happen. Night games, tons of home runs. Day games, not as many. It's kind of tough. It feels like it's kind of tough to figure out what to do there.
Aaron Judge did have 2 home runs. And Rodon gave up 3-run home run to Rooker early. They were up 4-0, and then the Yankees came back. I love the fact that the Athletics came back and even up this series after they got thumped 10-2 in the opener on Friday night. Mm-hmm. And then Miller, we touched on him a little bit. 2 strikeouts in the 8th inning, gave up a triple to Grisham to start things off in the 9th. Judge RBI ground out, but then he came back and struck out Bellinger and Volpe. I love the fact who knows how close they were ever to trading Mason Miller when they were in Oakland, but I love the fact that they kept him because you've got a guy at the end of the game who can shut things down, and you're not coming back late in a game like they did on Saturday and then having, a bullpen by committee blow a save. He shut the door on him, and I love to see that. I love the fact that the Athletics came back after getting, again, thumped on Friday.
And when he shuts the door, it's with authority. He's throwing 103. It's not like he's relying on tricks and smoke and mirrors here. A team that needed a little bit of tricks here, the Chicago Cubs in New York take down the Mets 6-5 in Cade Horton's debut. Here's one of our favorites, Sam Olber from Locked On Cubs, with the breakdown.
Sometimes you gotta find a way to win the tight ball games. The Cubs did that Saturday night in Queens with a 6-5 thrilling victory over the New York Mets. I'm Sam Olber from the Locked On Cubs podcast. Cade Horton made his major league debut Saturday night, and he did a nice job. He went 4 innings. He allowed 3 earned runs, all on one swing of the bat by Brett Beatty. Struck out 5. The Cubs' number 1 pitching prospect, one of the best pitching prospects in all of baseball. I thought he looked pretty good. Definitely some things to improve on, but overall it was a solid outing. But what made it even better is that the Cubs found a way to win this baseball game. They had a 4-0 lead, big day from Dansby Swanson, then a 4-3 lead, then Miggy Amaya with a big base hit making it 6-3. Merriweather almost gave it back at 6-5, and then Porter Hodge shut the door. How many times have we talked about it on the show? Sometimes, especially when you're not scoring 8-9 runs, you got to just find a way to grind out tight games. You have to, especially against good teams. And the Cubs did that. They haven't done a ton of that this year. They haven't needed to, but they did that Saturday night and now have an opportunity to win the series on Mother's Day. Great win for our Cubbies.
The other day when Ryan Presley gave up all those runs, I was thinking, do they have a closer problem? Porter Hodge in the 9th walks Jeff McNeil, double play from Francisco Lindor, ground out by Juan Soto, ball game. If that's not 3 guys that most people would struggle with, what a way to end it.
Yeah, a leadoff walk in a 1-run game, that is a doomsday scenario for most teams, especially on the road. Got the double play ground ball, got the final out, and the Mets had traffic. Outside of Brett Beatty, nobody else really produced in the lineup, but they had opportunities before that bottom of the 9th inning. Beatty had the 2 home runs, and that was it. But, again, this is another series. We had a lot of them on Saturday. Lose the opener. The team that lost the opener on Friday came back and won on Saturday. That happened all throughout baseball, it seemed like, on Saturday.
This is going to be a fun one. Matthew Boyd versus Griffin Canning on Sunday. 2 guys that joined these teams in the offseason. Boyd was pretty much a kind of prestigious free agent there, signing by them. Griffin Canning absolutely was not by the Mets, but it's worked out so far with the pitching lab there in New York. Another fun matchup, talking about fun matchups, Garrett Crochet versus Cole Reagans. We talked about that today. Red Sox won this matchup here 10-1 over the Royals. Actually ended that 7-game win streak that Kansas City had. You watched this game, talked about it for the postcast. What's kind of the big takeaway from this one?
a complete effort by the Red Sox, but it starts with Garrett Crochet. He was as advertised. 7 innings, 1 run allowed. He's allowed 2 earned runs or less in 8 of his first 9 starts with the Red Sox. Bases loaded situation in the bottom of the 7th inning. Bobby Witt Jr. up there struck him out for his 9th strikeout of the game.
There you go.
Bullpen the rest of the way did it. Trevor Story sort of broke out. First extra base hit in 18 games, a 3-run shot with 2 outs in the top of that 7th inning. But Crochet gave the Red Sox exactly what they needed. A lot of hits in the lineup. Rafi Devers, 4 hits, a walk, 3 RBIs.
Was that from the DH spot or the first base spot? Kidding.
The designated hitter for the Red Sox, Rafi Devers, on base 5 times, 4 hits and a walk, 3 RBIs.
There you go. Flip side of that, Cole Reagan's 5 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs. He does strike out 8. First time he's taken a loss in 4 career starts versus the Red Sox. This finale, Lucas Giolito versus Seth Lugo. Another one. Going to be tons of fun to watch. Final game here, the first segment before we go to break. I want to get to Dodgers at Diamondbacks. Dodgers had that huge comeback yesterday. Doesn't happen today. Diamondbacks get the 3-0 win. Here's our buddy Vince from Locked On Dodgers about what happened late in this one.
Maybe the offense used up all their magic on Friday night, because Saturday night was a different story. 14 runs on Friday, 0 runs on Saturday, and the Dodgers lose. This is Vince from Locked On Dodgers. And it was not a great night for the offense. 5 scattered hits, couple walks, 0 for 5 runners in scoring position. Yes, they were facing Corbin Burns, but yes, they could be better against a good pitcher. Just didn't work out for them. Dustin May pitched well, pitched into the 7th inning. He really needed that kind of start after his last couple starts. And yeah, it was just one of those nights. The offense couldn't get anything done. Corbin Burns was pitching very, very well. And the Dodgers couldn't do too much. They had a couple chances here and there. One time with Shohei and Mookie at the plate, and it just didn't work out. But the good thing, Dustin May pitched good. Kirby Yates, not as much. But ultimately, with no runs scored, you're not going to win a lot of games. So make sure to check it all out on Sunday night. The weekend recap on Locked On Dodgers, or via podcast and on YouTube.
Thanks, Vince. He's right. If you don't score runs, you're not going to win. But Arizona feels like they have a bullpen strategy. Just ask your starter to go 7 scoreless and then throw Ryan Nelson for multiple innings. That's totally repeatable every single game, right?
Absolutely. That's the formula, and it should work for 162. Nelson, 2 perfect innings, and the high leverage situation was in the 8th inning. He got Ohtani on a line out, Betts struck out looking, and then he came back and got Freeman on a comebacker. And then he worked a perfect 9th inning as well. But Corbin Burns, again, like Crochet, gave Arizona exactly what he needed. And like the A's, for me, Lindsay, great resolve by the Diamondbacks after that tough loss on Friday. They really, if the bullpen took care of business on Friday, they could be up 3-0 in the series.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun matchup. We've got another great Tony Gonsolin, Zach Allen. We'll see what happens on Sunday. In just a second, I want to get to the Giants and Twins. And this was an interesting matchup here. We'll do that next, right here on MLB Game Night. You ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands for this matchup. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB. They make it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game. Maybe you want to go watch the Padres put up a ton more runs on Colorado tomorrow. You can do it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Lindsey Crosby, Steve Lennox back here with you. I got my camera fixed.
It's good to see you, Lindsey.
I'm so happy I got my camera fixed. I have no idea what happened there. That's the fun of live content here. Okay, Giants at Twins. The Twins started off tough, right? They are now 500. They take this 2-1 over the Giants. Here's our buddy Brandon Warren with some of his thoughts on what happened in this one.
It was the Christian Vasquez game on national TV Saturday night as the Twins won yet another tightly contested ball game, this time 2-1 over the Giants. They're now 500 at 20-20 after winning 7 in a row. This is Brandon Warren with your Locked On Twins post-game minute, and it's a game of inches, folks. And Christian Vasquez proved that by taking a walk on a pitch that was definitely in the strike zone. We'll talk about that in just a second. But 2 batters later, Trevor Larnach deposits a sweeper into the right field stands, and that was the only scoring of the night for the Twins. Later on, Vasquez picks up Willie Castro, who was trying to stretch a single into a double a half inning earlier, and was thrown out. CV picked up WC by picking off Elliot Ramos off third base to end the Giants' last threat in the top of the 8th. Also, Rocco Baldelli getting thrown out after being upset about strikes and balls. That was probably a good point. We'll see something on that umpire scorecard next. Fun fact, despite literally puking his guts out a few days ago, Joe Ryan was brilliant. Twins starters have a 2.25 ERA since April 8th. That's a span of 30 games. The next lowest in MLB is the Mets at 2.88. Up next, it's Pablo Day on Mother's Day, while the Giants will counter with Landon Roop. First pitch is 1:10 p.m. Sunday afternoon. We'll have full coverage. This is Locked On Twins.
You know, Steve, when we opened the show, you mentioned the tough luck lines for some starters here. Logan Webb, 7 innings, 2 runs, 9 strikeouts, and he takes the loss. That's got to hurt.
But you'll take that every 5th day when they hand them the baseball. And there were a handful of guys, like you said, throughout baseball on Saturday. You leave the ballpark with a loss, but you know you did your job and you kept your team in the game.
Yep. All right. Rangers, Tigers, talking about doing your job. Rangers win this one 10-3. They hit 5 home runs, ended a losing streak. Here's Scott Bentley from the Tigers. I don't know why we've played so many losing team shorts today, but it's interesting to hear his take on how this one went.
7 home runs in Comerica Park. Home run friendly ballpark, Comerica Park. I'm Scott Bentley, host of Locked On Tigers. Tigers get crushed 10-2 in this one. You know, it's I think it's fair to call it the middle of May, and this is the first blowout the Tigers have been on the losing end of. This is the first, like, you look at the final score and you go, oh, they weren't even close. First time all year, and I think that really matters and at least says something about the team this season. On the offensive side of the ball, you got DeGrom-inated. Like, that's just peak DeGrom. He's really good, and I think it's good for baseball when he's good and healthy. Unfortunately, the Tigers are on the losing side of that. On the pitching side, Jack Flaherty gives up a lot of home runs. Kind of seems to be the weakest link so far. I don't want to call him a weak link. He hasn't been terrible. But in a rotation that is so good and a fan base that now just expects us to not give up runs every time out, he seems to be kind of the one that has been struggling, fighting command a little bit lately. But hopefully that'll smooth out. At the end of the day, like I said, it's the first blowout you've really had this year on the losing side of things, and you still have a chance to win the series tomorrow. So tip of the cap to Texas for finally scoring some runs. I'm sure it'll be celebrated over there, and let's go win a series tomorrow.
To Scott's point, Nathan Eovaldi versus Reese Olson tomorrow. Put you on the spot here. I didn't tell you I was doing this. Who do you have in the finale?
Ooh.
While you're thinking about it, I'm taking Tigers simply because they've been the most consistent team. Rangers hired their hitting coach.
Yeah, Brett Boone, the genius hitting coach, 10 runs. They had lost 3 in a row. They lost the final 2 at Fenway against the Red Sox earlier in the week. I take Eovaldi.
Okay.
I think the Rangers take 2 out of 3 in this series.
We're on separate sides of this. I like the back and forth. We're on separate sides of this. Nice.
I love Eovaldi. He's just one of those guys I enjoy watching pitch. And DeGrom, 10 strikeouts in 5 innings. He could possibly carve up that Tigers lineup again on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we had Skubal do it on Friday. We had DeGrom do it on Saturday. Somebody has to do it tomorrow to make this all match. Okay. Phillies at Guardians. Phillies win this 7-1. You mentioned this earlier. They even up the series at 1 game apiece. They had 6 runs in the 8th inning. Tell me if it sounds like Connor Thomas of Locked On Phillies is a little excited about that or not.
The Philadelphia Phillies take down the Cleveland Guardians behind a huge 8th inning and a great performance from Ranger Suarez. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. what do we talk about first? Let's talk about Ranger, because he was rough in his first start of the year. And today, he was vintage Ranger Suarez. Shutout 7 innings. Nobody was expecting that out of him today. You were expecting like some incremental improvement. And instead, he goes out and just shoves. He was awesome today. And the 8th inning set the Phillies offense apart. They had chances early, but they really, really woke up in the 8th. Bryce Harper goes yard, and it wasn't a cheapie. No, he hits a bomb. It's great to see him get something going. The Phils had a rough night last night, but a huge bounce back in Game 2. We'll see if they can win their 5th straight series and finish out this road trip on a high note tomorrow. We'll talk on Monday on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.
Steve, another of your your tough luck losses, Tanner Bybee. 7 innings, 1 run, 3 strikeouts. I have him in fantasy too. I'm not sad about it though, because that's still good ratios, but golly, so many good pitchers just not getting offensive support today. What's going on May 10th?
Yeah, I mean, you held a good Phillies lineup in check. He gave up just the 1 run, and Guardians got the run in the bottom of the 9th inning to avoid being shut out, and it would have been the 2nd straight shutout in the series. But again, I just think you're seeing guys now hit their 8th, 9th, 10th starts of the season if they were in the rotation at the start of the season in late March. And I think some of these guys are really starting to pitch to their numbers. Baseball card, back of the baseball card, or their baseball reference page. They're starting to really put things together. And Connor right there, Suarez is a guy who 7 shutout every time? No, but 6, 7 innings and 2 or 3 runs or less. He's capable of that every single time out. And so is Bybee for the Guardians.
Yeah, just somebody had to lose that game, and it just ended up. Thankfully, it didn't go on Bybee. It went on the bullpen, right? All right, Reds at Astros. Huge offensive inning for the Reds in their 13-9 win. Here's our buddy Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds, who almost can't believe how many runs they scored.
10 runs in the first inning? And yet somehow the Reds felt like this game was in doubt for them at some points. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast. And there was something in the air at Daikin Park where neither the Astros nor the Reds could pitch at all. I mean, there were a total of 13 pitchers used by both teams in this game. Reds end up holding on to win 13-9, albeit after a 10-0 first inning lead. And at one point they led 12-1. It was just an insane game where you saw some guys get right. I mean, Elliot De La Cruz hit his first home run since the Reds scored 24 runs in Baltimore. Matt McClain hit his first home run since April 14th, I think. I mean, long droughts were ended, and yet the pitching made this game stressful. But hey, the Reds get a win. Hopefully they can continue this momentum, because they do this where they score a billion runs in one game and then they don't score a whole bunch in the next ensuing 5 or 6. Hopefully that doesn't happen here. They got a chance for a series win on Sunday.
2 big observations from this game I had, Steve, was 1, Lance McCullers, 7 earned runs, gets one out before he leaves the game, 36 pitches. And then Jose Altuve leaves with hamstring tightness in the 3rd inning. But apparently McCullers spoke to the media after the game about his family getting death threats about his start and how poorly it went.
Yeah. And unimaginable,
Yeah.
it should not happen in any walk of life. And yet people can go out there and do those things. And McCullers of what he's come back from. With the injury and
even be on the mound is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And doesn't go well, and all of a sudden you're dealing. Okay, I did not pitch well. I got 1 out in the first inning. That's it. And oh, by the way, this life occurrence is happening for me as well, where I'm subjected to this, and I have to deal with this after the game. I saw that and I was just completely disappointed, especially. The family. I mean, it's not him. It's they're bringing the family in it on Mother's Day weekend. That's all I could keep thinking about in the 20 minutes after I had read that initially.
Yeah. All right. In just a second, I want to get to Cardinals at Nationals, because it's starting to wonder if the Cardinals were right to not rebuild. We'll do that next, right here on MLB Game Night. The MLB season's in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning homer or a breakout starter, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game, both before first pitch and live, with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you've got a read on who is swinging a hot bat right now, just seeing beach balls at the plate, why not back it up with a same-game parlay? If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel. Okay, Cardinals at Nationals. Cardinals have been on a win streak here, and they continue that with a 4-2 victory. Now 7 straight games for the Cardinals. Here is one of our MLB Game Night colleagues, JD, who hosts Locked on Cardinals, with his thoughts on the victory.
The St. Louis Cardinals pitching staff does it again. Hey, it's JD from Locked on Cardinals, and the starting pitching for this team has been shoving all week long, and their dominance continued on Saturday with Andre Pallante. Pallante pitched into the 8th inning before the Nationals finally scored against him. Final line, 7 1/3 innings, 2 runs on 5 hits, 7 strikeouts. Cards closer Ryan Helsley, he made it a little interesting there in the 9th inning, made us sweat a little bit, but the Birds hang on to get that 4-2 win. You want to know how good this staff has been this week? Here's a stat for you. The Cardinals pitching staff has given up 6 runs in 5 games this week. 6 runs total. The starters have gone at least 7 innings in 4 straight games, and because of this, the team has now pushed their season-high win streak to 7 in a row. They'll go for the 3-game sweep on Sunday with righty Miles Mikolas on the bump. For the latest updates and info, be sure to keep it Locked on Cardinals.
If we've learned anything from today, just ask your starter to go 7 scoreless. It's not that hard, apparently.
Yeah. Get it done. That's it. Short day for the bullpen.
It's only 2 things: pitching to the 7th inning and not allowing runs. It's not that difficult to do, right? Ryan Helsley makes it dramatic there, but they get the win. You did have the great note. He said 6 runs in the last 5 games. They've got 15 runs in the 7-game win streak. Still not a lot of runs. And I'm starting to wonder, is this enough pitching for them to make it through a season and possibly be a postseason team? Or is this just when everybody's healthy, now it's working, but they can't keep this up?
Yeah, and I wonder what the front office is thinking right now, because New York, you can't rebuild. The Dodgers are never going to rebuild. They're just going to keep adding on to the mansion. The Cardinals in St. Louis, their fan base expects a winner every single year. Mm-hmm. And they're right there. And if they get this pitching, now it's not going to be what JD said with the numbers that they've had this week. This has been a great week. But if they can just simply be consistent going forward, they're going to be there. And then you get into June and July, you evaluate, what do we need to make a run here? And I'm going to be curious to see how aggressive they are come July at the deadline.
We mentioned earlier in the show about series getting evened up today. Marlins at White Sox. Marlins win this 3-1. This series is tied at 1 game apiece going into the Sunday finale. Here's our buddy Jeremiah Geiger of Locked on Marlins.
It was a slow start, but the Marlins get the job done, and they beat the White Sox 3-1. It's Jeremiah Geiger from the Locked on Marlins podcast. Kyle Stowers homers in the 7th, and Eric Wagman, a 2-run go-ahead triple. His first career triple puts the Marlins ahead in the 8th inning. Jesus Tinoco shuts the door in the 9th to get the save, and the Marlins have evened out the series with the White Sox. It wasn't a pretty game. It was a sloppy game offensively. They just didn't do a lot. In fact, the White Sox were shutting out the Marlins up until the 7th inning. But they found a way to win, and I'll take that 10 times out of 10. Edward Cabrera had a good start. 5 innings, only struck out 2, but he was inducing a lot of weak contact and throwing a lot of strikes. When Cabrera throws strikes, he is effective. The Marlins are going to go for the series win tomorrow. Sandy Alcantara will be on the mound. It's going to be a get-right game for Sandy. Check out Locked on Marlins on Monday for more.
Talking about good outings that don't result in wins, but you don't take a loss. Shane Smith for the White Sox, 6 scoreless, 4 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts, no decision. Let's move on. Braves at Pirates. Braves even the series up 1-1 with a 3-2 victory in 11 innings. Pirates have now lost 8 out of 9. The one win was Thursday night for the Braves. I'm sorry, Friday night against the Braves. And so Atlanta's now in a situation where they haven't used their closer in 2 days. He got a reset. Raisel Iglesias did. Can they get to 500 on Sunday? They had a chance to do it against Colorado, and they lost. They had a chance against Cincinnati, and they lost. Can they do it on Sunday with Chris Sale on the mound? From the outside, how do you feel about the Braves?
I think they're there on Sunday.
Okay.
You got to leave Pittsburgh winning 2 out of 3, and then you're there. You're on the plane. You're a 500 club.
You really do.
You talked about a reset with Iglesias. You're resetting. You're 500 leaving Pittsburgh on Sunday with Chris Sale on the mound. It fits perfectly for Atlanta.
From your lips to the baseball god's ears. Aaron Mladinsky starting for the Pirates, ERA over 6. This is the pitching matchup that you've got to win. You've got to win the Chris Sale start.
Yes.
All right. You want to think Blue Jays Mariners?
Yeah, Mariners dropping a second straight game, 6-3, the final again, Lindsay. The same loss they had to the Blue Jays in the opener on Friday. With that, Mariners' streak of 9 straight series wins coming to an end. Mariners will try to avoid the sweep at home against the Blue Jays on Sunday. Bo Bichette, Mariners were up 3-0 in this one. Barger RBI single in the 8th inning, putting the Jays up 4-3. And then Mason Fluharty got the final out in the 7th, retired the side 1-2-3 in the 8th. And Jeff Hoffman, love to see it, struck out the side in the 9th inning to preserve that 6-3 win for the Jays.
They really need George Kirby and Logan Gilbert to get back, just to keep this
momentum.
They're coming. Brewers at Rays, another team that won 2 games. Rays win 3-2. They've had 2 one-run victories in the last 2 days. Travis Janikowski hits the RBI single at the bottom of the 9th. Also, first time the Rays have ever had a rain delay in a home game because the Trop had a roof on it. So thought that was fun. Taj Bradley got the start. Solo home runs, Joey Ortiz, who's really struggled with bat speed and power this year. Jackson Churio. But Pete Fairbanks loads the bases in the 9th, leaves them loaded. They get the win. Absolutely love this. Jackson Churio, had a good day yesterday, had the home run today. Maybe he can get them a win on Sunday.
Yeah, Rays will be looking for the series sweep, and they have not fared well overall at Steinbrenner Field. A couple of one-run victories here, and see how they play it out on Sunday. Because they need a win after after this homestand. They're on the road for 6-3 with the Jays and 3 in Miami against the Marlins.
Yeah, at least the Miami one's not that far away, right?
Sure.
Orioles at Angels. Angels take this 5-0. Jack Kachanowicz, 1 out away from a quality start, 5 2/3, 1 run, 4 strikeouts, 4 walks. But the big thing here for me, Kyle Gibson, 4 innings, 5 runs on 7 hits. The Orioles just can't seem to find pitching. They just don't have the pitching that feels like to hang. Crazy day in baseball. We're wrapping this show up real quick. Any final thoughts on the day that was?
The Padres really did win 21-0 at Coors Field.
They scored 3 touchdowns on the Colorado Rockies. I think about the Braves losing 2-1 when they could in Coors Field when they could have gotten to 500. And the Padres put up 3 touchdowns. This has been MLB Game Night. Thank you for joining us tonight. Reminder, this is every day, every game, every night, as only the Locked On Podcast Network can do it. For Steve Lennox, I'm Lindsey Crosby, and this has been MLB Game Night.